Hi, I'm John Hockaday with Sand Hills Broadcasting, and I'd like to thank you for watching our Coaches Show on WFJA and WWGP Sports. Our Coaches Show's videos are offered to you uninterrupted and without commercials, but we couldn't bring you these shows without our wonderful sponsors. I'd like to thank Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, M.R. Stoner, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Carolina Firearms, and Kendall Pawn Shop. We thank these businesses for bringing you the Coaches Show each and every week, and we thank you for tuning in to WFJA and WWGP Sports. We hope you enjoy the show.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Yellowjacket pregame show. I'm your host, Keith Womack, and I'll be with head coach Steve Bordeaux here tonight as we get ready to talk about this week's upcoming game versus Harnett Central. It'll be the Yellowjackets' first home game of the spring football season. We'll talk about last week's big victory over Union Pines as the Yellowjackets start 1-0 in the Tri-County 3A Conference. And of course, none of this would be possible without some great sponsors. We'd like to thank Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, M.R. Stoner Electric, and of course, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Carolina Firearms, and Kendall Pawn, all for helping bring the Coaches Show to you every Tuesday right here at 7 o'clock, right here on 105.5 WFJA. Of course, I'd like to remind everybody it'll be rebroadcast at 5:30 prior to Friday night's game, which we will have a 6:30 kickoff. All of that right here on 105.5 WFJA. As always, I look forward to talking to head coach Steve Bordeaux of the Yellowjackets and bringing you updates and previews for Yellowjacket football. We're going to take a short break and hear from our great sponsors. We'll be right back with head coach Steve Bordeaux right after these messages.
Coaches Show sponsors: Wilkinson Chevrolet in their new location on Highway 87 South. Domino's with convenient locations throughout the Lee County area. M.R. Stoner Electric, residential, industrial, and commercial electricians. Sheriff Tracy Carter, proud to support high school athletics. Carolina Firearms, your full-service firearms training and gun store. Kendall Pawn Shop, buy, sell, trade. Brick Capital Video, for all special occasions. WFJA for all your sports, FM 105.5.
And welcome back once again to the Yellowjacket pregame show. I'm your host, Keith Womack, and of course we have head coach Steve Bordeaux. First of all, Coach, thanks for being here tonight.
Yeah, I enjoy it every Tuesday night. It's a fun thing.
Well, especially after a big victory, the Yellowjackets go to 3-0 overall, 1-0 now in the conference with a big 56-14 victory over Union Pines last Friday night. And, Coach, it was a big victory. Before we get into the details, let's discuss just a tad what happened around the rest of the conference. Of course, Triton picked up their first victory in conference with a 27-7 victory over the Cavaliers. And Harnett Central picks up a victory, 25-24 over Western Harnett. And it kind of puts us now where the Jackets are 3-0 in overall, 1-0 in the conference. Also at 1-0 is Triton. They're 1-2 overall. Union Pines at 2-2, and they are 1-1 in the conference. The Cavaliers now fall to 2-2. They are also 1-1 in the conference. Harnett Central at 1-3 overall, 1-1 in the conference. And Western Harnett is at 0-4 and 0-2 in the conference. And of course, it's going to be you say a long year, but this is really a short year for the Yellowjackets. As we'll talk about in a few minutes, but going to be a busy schedule coming up. Yellowjackets will play Friday. Then they'll have another home game next Thursday. Mm-hmm. Then they'll follow that up with another home game on Monday. Yep. And then the next Friday, we'll follow it up with our final game on the road, just right down the road at Southern Lee. So Lee County is going to have 4 games in 15 days. That's a pretty tough task. And again, we'll talk about that in just a minute. But Coach, thinking back at what happened last week with Union Pines and the big victory that the Yellowjackets had, I thought they did a lot of great things. It was kind of one of those games you never felt like we were dominating, but yet on the scoreboard we were. I thought Biggs, their freshman, is a spectacular athlete, and we had a hard time keeping up with him at times.
Yeah, he's a good athlete and he's a good player. We knew that going in. I was really proud of how the boys played throughout. I think coaching and mentality we have as a coaching staff is we're going to play as the game is close or we're down the whole time. And if we keep that intensity throughout, I think sometimes we on the sideline felt it's a lot closer game. And then, we might look at the score at halftime and we're up, 3 touchdowns. And then at the end of the game, obviously, we won by, 6 touchdowns. So, it ends up not being a very close game. But I can appreciate the intensity that the coaches and the players played through without. And I'm glad it turned out that way.
Well, Coach, none of this would have been possible without a great effort by T.J. Johnson. We'll talk about his efforts in a little bit, or the accolades that come from that. But 208 yards on 21 carries in just a convincing 56-14 victory. Talk about TJ a little bit and what he brings to that Jacket offense.
Yeah, without a doubt, TJ running the ball hard, doing a lot of things really well for us. Had a couple decent pass protections. That's one thing that I really enjoyed about this game. I could see the progression of our offense starting to come together. Will had a good day. Had over 200 yards passing. We had several receivers with receptions. So the ball was being spread around, and obviously we ran the ball with several guys. So as we can continue to become more balanced, it's going to make it tougher and tougher for defenses to cover us. And that all starts with the offensive line.
Well, Tyreek McKendall had a catch. Kenyon Palmer had a catch. Garrison had a catch. Lamb had a catch. Jennings all had catches. So you're right, spread the ball around quite a bit. But again, when everything was said and done, a huge 56-14 victory. Jackets go to 1-0 in the conference. So congratulations on that, Coach. One of the things we want to talk about tonight is, as much as we talk about and give accolades to guys like T.J. Johnson, or maybe it's Will Patterson at quarterback, regardless of what year we're talking about, it's easy to talk about those guys. Look at the stats, right? Some of the guys we don't talk about a whole lot. We're going to take a little bit of time tonight to get to know some of that Yellowjacket offensive line. Coach, walk us through what you see on the line, the experience they have, and what they bring to this Yellowjacket offense.
So starting our offensive line, one thing that I've really come to enjoy about this group is they're all very multiple. They can all play multiple positions. Last year we had a very experienced line, but sometimes they were locked in where they could play the left guard or they could play right guard. Now the group we have this year is able to play 3, 4. Some of them can play all 5 spots on the front. So, it starts out with our senior captain, Cullen McDonough. He's a 2-year starter for us. He's one of those guys that's probably already played 3 different positions on the offensive line and does them all very well. James Gordon slid into center last week for us and did a great job. And I think, moving forward, he's a big boy and he moves some guys out the way. So it's always fun to see Big G in there moving guys out the way. Tyler McMullen is a sophomore, young guy, but has a tremendous amount of potential. And I'm really excited to see him grow every week. Aiden Rooney is playing left tackle for us, and he started week 1. He's another sophomore. We've seen him grow every week. Duran Mccoy is coming back as a two-way starter and a second-year starter on the offensive line. And then we rotate in a couple other guys that have really gave great minutes, and Wyatt Rickard, Axton Scott, and Caden Pedley. We've played a lot of guys on the offensive line, and that group has grown every week.
Well, one of the things I was going to ask you, Coach, was about depth. One of the things we saw in the Union Pines game, I don't know if you realize, I think the Jacket defense held Union Pines to only like a handful, maybe 10 or 15 yards of total offense in the second half. And you could see a progressive wearing down of Union Pines during that game. And I think one of the things that propelled Lee County last year was the actual depth that we had, because we had the superstars that are, a lot of them have gone on to play college ball this year. And then we see guys stepping in, but it looks like you're slowly and nicely developing that nice depth, which adds to the quality of play from the offensive line.
Yeah, without a doubt, on the offensive line, Coach Santiago and Coach Thompson do a great job building those guys, and really that's our whole game plan as a coaching staff. Whether it's offensive line, defensive line, DBs, whatever position is, we want to develop our program and our kids, coming from the JV level, and they're prepared to know scheme for varsity. And we do a lot of things in the weight room to get them physically ready. So it's a full process. It's not an overnight thing, but these boys are working hard.
Well, there's your Yellowjacket offensive line, and of course we'll try to meet a different group each week as we continue to try to meet some of these Yellowjackets. Coach, we talked about it earlier. Friday, Thursday, next Monday, and next Friday. 4 games, 15 days, 3 games in the final 8 days. How are you guys adjusting to this quickie schedule coming up here over the next 2 weeks.
So there'll be a little bit difference in, the intensity in a practice after a game day, but luckily our boys are very, very flexible, and our coaches are determined to make these things work. And we're just happy to be able to play on the field. So that we're going to find a way to make the thing work no matter what it is. But the boys will jump right in there and get after it. Before we go all the way to the next week and stuff like that, I want to give one more shout out to our defense. Our defense played their butts off on Friday night. Diego scooped and scored a touchdown. We had several guys tackling guys in the backfield. Coach Jacobs and our defensive staff were on it again against Union Pines, and gave us a chance to really get after it.
Yeah, just a huge victory. And, of course, Jackets, again, 1-0 now in the Tri-County 3A Conference as we get ready to hopefully make that 2-0 tonight. All right, we're going to take one last break and hear from these great sponsors. Again, this is Keith Womack. I'm with head coach Steve Bordeaux. We'll be back in just a moment.
Coaches Show sponsors: Wilkinson Chevrolet in their new location on Highway 87 South. Domino's with convenient locations throughout the Lee County area. M.R. Stoner Electric, residential, industrial, and commercial electricians. Sheriff Tracy Carter, proud to support high school athletics. Carolina Firearms, your full-service firearms training and gun store. Kendall Pawn Shop, buy, sell, trade. Brick Capital Video, for all special occasions. WFJA for all your sports, FM 105.5.
And welcome back once again to the Yellowjacket pregame show. I'm your host, Keith Womack, and here with head coach Steve Bordeaux. And coach, this is one of my favorite segments that we do each Tuesday night at the pregame show, is talk about a couple of our good sponsors and a couple of good, nice awards for the players. We're going to start out with the Norman Financial Group offensive and defensive players of the game. Of course, they're selected by John and I, WFJA Sports. And we'll start with the offense, Coach.
So, offense this week, you guys went with T.J. Johnson, and there's no doubt that it was, I don't know if it was an easy pick, but he 200-plus yards on 21 carries, couple touchdowns. TJ really toted the rock for us, and obviously he gets things done on defense and special teams too. So he's a safe pick probably every week.
Well, it's kind of impressive, the fact that getting 200 yards for any back is impressive,
right,
and it wears on you during the game. But he also went out there and played a great defensive game. Now, he did not get our defensive player of the game, but our Norman Financial Group defensive player of the game was Duran Mccoy.
Yep. And Duran's another guy that plays both ways. So Duran took a lot of snaps on the offensive line this week and might have played his best overall game as a second-year starter type guy, at least on the offensive side of the ball. And he's done some really good things on defense the last 2 years. So I think both of those guys could have probably been offense/defensive player of the game and been safe on either side.
Yeah, I thought he looked very aggressive during the game. Of course, Coach, we also have our Coaches Player of the Game sponsored by another great sponsor, Wilkinson Chevrolet. Of course, their new location down on Highway 87 South going toward Fayetteville across from Walmart's. Go down and see those guys about a new Chevrolet tomorrow. But our Player of the Game, Coach?
Yeah, so the coaches, we have our meetings on the weekend, and we were talking, and we debated about a couple guys, and everybody kept coming back to TJ. TJ plays, obviously, the stats we talked about on offense. He making plays on defense, calling our defense, just about on every special team. We just could not pick TJ, and some guys are going to have to continue to get after it so they can earn this nice award as well and get their name put on that trophy.
All right, Coach, and as we said, this nice little trophy will sit down in the halls of Lee County Senior High School, and once we get the names inscripted on the side after each game this year, it'll be put in that case and be enshrined there forever. And I think it's just neat that these kids, because they grow up so quick, will be able to come back later on and show their kids and maybe even their grandkids one day that, hey, I used to be a Yellowjacket. But as we always said, always once a Yellowjacket.
Yeah, always a Yellowjacket.
That's correct. Of course, congratulations to those guys for our Coaches Player of the Game, also the Norman Financial Group offensive and defensive players of the game. Coach, Game 4, opponent Harnett Central. Right now they're 1-3 and 1-1 in the conference. But Coach, a couple of those losses came to some pretty good teams this year. They did beat Western Harnett last week 25-24, what can we expect out of Harnett Central in Friday night's contest?
Yeah, I think one thing that comes off the record means nothing for what Harnett Central has done as far as how good of a team they are and what they're capable of. At this point, they have everything to still win. For them, the conference still means everything. For us to win a conference championship, we have to beat them. They've played a couple really good teams, as you said, on offense. They have a couple athletes, number 4, number 5, number 1. When those guys get the ball in space, they can score anytime they touch the ball. So our defense is going to have to be locked in on those guys and make sure we're sound. And I know that our coaching staff has a really good plan. Now our boys are going to execute it. Defensively, they have a couple really good D linemen, and those same guys are playing DB that are threats on offense. So they have a couple guys going both ways. So it's going to be important for us to continue to work hard and make those guys work. So hopefully our depth can help us as the game goes on.
And Coach, I always think that confidence is a tough opponent for anybody. And with them picking up their first victory this year, gives them a lot of confidence moving into the Yellowjacket game. Offensively, what kind of schemes could we look for from Harnett Central?
Yeah, they're a spread team. They'll run a little bit of option. They'll try to get the ball in space to their playmakers. Like I said, number 5 and number 4, when they touch the ball vertically or going side to side, our boys better run to the football and be ready to make tackles. Otherwise, they can do some damage.
And defensively, when we're on offense, we know they've got some big, couple of nice big linemen. What kind of setup will they have defensively?
So, they typically play like an off-man look. So they have good athletes, and they're going to try to match up their athletes so they can bring pressure inside the box. So we're going to have to be prepared for that up front, and our receivers are going to have to win. So we can exploit that.
Well, best of luck to you, Coach, in that game. Thinking about ahead to Friday night's game as we go through this world of COVID. By the way, we are COVID-proof here in our booth tonight. Just want to remind everybody of that. We are safe inside the booth. But, Coach, with COVID-19 going on and just the conditions that the Yellowjackets have played in most of their games, any injury updates for Lee County? Any Yellowjackets ailing or possibly going to miss Friday night's game?
So we got a couple of guys that were banged up from the game last week, and Coach Womack's been there all weekend and all week trying to get them guys ready to go. And I think as the weeks went on, a couple of them have looked so pretty good so far. So Wednesday tells a lot. So we'll find out.
Well, Coach, I do want to remind everybody this will be the first home game for the Yellowjackets. Kind of hard to imagine that, but as we get ready for Harnett Central, I want to remind everybody that Friday night will be a senior night at Lee County, so they'll honor the seniors, the players, and want everybody to come out and support. I understand Governor Cooper today opened it up to 50% capacity. Is that correct?
Yeah, I haven't got any feedback as far as how our county is going to handle that and how the athletic association is. I haven't seen it. We were at practice while it happened. But I do know that we have at least 1,800 people we can get in our stadium. That's a whole lot of people, period. So if we can pack it out with 1,800 and they let more, that's great. But otherwise, 1,800 is still a whole lot of tickets.
And we want to make sure we share the link if you have that off the top of your head where Yellowjacket fans can go online and order tickets to get ready for Friday night's game.
Yeah, so check the Booster Club. I know that they sent the stuff out, and our football page will send it out. But it's on GoFan. It's another online link. We're going to continue. Our home games will be sold on there, and that's how we'll do tickets through that.
Well, Coach, we certainly expect to see at least 1,800 people out there.
Yeah.
Go get your tickets. Go online, get them now. Make sure you get them reserved. The Yellowjackets are going to be hosting senior night, which is going to be a big night for a lot of your players. A couple of seniors that stand out top of your head that we could look forward to honoring Friday.
Yeah, so I think I'll talk about the 3 captains. We had Jaden Marshall, number 5 for us, Jackson Lamb, number 11, and Cullen McDonough, number 60. They're captains for a reason. They do the things that we ask. They work hard. They do great in the classroom, and they're just prime time examples of things that you want to have as a Jacket football player. And there's 12 total. That's just 3 of them.
Well, we know that you had a lot of talent coming back. I didn't realize there were that many seniors, but we haven't gotten to really know the Yellowjackets real quick. It's only been 3 games, and we missed one of them early in the season. And of course, that's why we're having so many games here in the next 15 days. Will there be any other, events going on during halftime? Because, we haven't seen a lot of the other athletes out and about yet, but Will they just be football? Or?
So we'll do football before the game, and it sounded like cheerleading and other sports may be honored at halftime. So about 6 o'clock, we will start the football senior night celebration, and then any other sport that's being recognized, it sounds like they'll be at halftime. And this is actually our only regular season Friday night football game. We have the Thursday night game next week, and it's a Monday night game that's getting made up. So this is actually our only Friday night game during the regular season. So we'll have to go earn some for the playoffs. So this should be a great game, great night, and great night to honor the seniors.
So come out and support the seniors, Yellowjacket fans, as they get ready for their first home game this Friday night. We're going to take another short break to thank once again, our sponsors. We'll be back in just a moment with head coach Steve Bordeaux. And welcome back once again to the Yellowjacket pregame show. I'm your host, Keith Womack, and of course, thank you, Coach Steve Bordeaux, for being in here tonight and sharing some of your insightful information with us, getting ready for Friday night's game.
Yes, sir. It was fun, as always.
Of course, we'd like to remind you to join us each Tuesday night at 7 o'clock on 105.5 WFJA. And, of course, this Friday night at 5:30 prior to our game at 6:30, also on 105.5 WFJA. Our coach's show is also going to be posted on the WFJA website and the WFJA Facebook page each Wednesday by noon. And we'd like to invite you to watch and share this week's video with family and friends. We hope you will take these opportunities to join us this season for the only station that brings you Yellowjacket football live right when it happens. Best of luck to the Yellowjackets as they host Harnett Central this Friday in a Tri-County 3A conference matchup. We'd also like to make sure we thank our special sponsors, Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, M.R. Stoner Electric, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Carolina Firearms, and Kendall Pawn Shop. And we thank you for listening to WFJA Sports. Let's get ready, Yellowjacket fans. It's time once again for Yellowjacket football.
We thank you for watching the Steve Bordeaux Coaches Show. We again thank our sponsors, Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, M.R. Stoner Electric, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Carolina Firearms, and Kendall Pawn Shop for bringing you our coaches shows each and every week. We also want to thank Brick Capital Video for their work each week in helping to bring you these videos. We remind you to visit our website. Just Google WFJA, select our site, look for the sports tab, then football, and enjoy all the standings, rankings, stats, and articles about both of our two local high schools and the Tri-County 3A Conference. Again, thanks for watching WFJA and WWGP Sports.